Hello, and welcome to our Sunday gathering. We're so grateful you're here. If we haven't met yet, I'm Sandra. I'm with my friends Carrie and Phil and Tim today. Darren is still traveling for a couple of weeks. And just a couple of tiny little announcements, just so you're ready. Next week, we have a time change here in America. We go forward. So, unfortunately, if you live in not North America, say Europe, UK, to our friends New Zealand and Australia, you'll sign into the Sunday gathering an hour early. So that is for next week and the following week. So I just want to send that out there. And then just after we end today, on another Zoom link, we'll be doing a medium demonstration with Carrie and Phil. So we're excited about that. So I'll put that in the chat box too if you want to join us. But Carrie has orchestrated our Sunday gathering for today, and I'm going to put it over to her so she can tell you more. And welcome, everyone.
Thank you very much, Sandra. And the time zone change, we know is your favorite time of the year. It happens twice, and we know it's your absolute favorite. So for everybody else, Sandra's nodding with a funny look on her face. So today I have thought about the theme of change. It's the one constant. Some would say, as well as taxes and death, it's the one thing that we can be guaranteed in life is change. And yet we often try and stop that change. But today we're going to celebrate it. And we're going to do something a little bit different. And we may well do some things a little bit different over the weeks to come as well. Because change is the spice of life.
It is, very much. Shall we keep on saying?
So I'm going to be doing our introduction, the prayer and the reading, and then we're going to move straight to Sandra with the address. And then we're going to invite Tim to do a demonstration of mediumship. And as we move through that, believe it or not, an incredible thing happens. A power is created, a love is created, a healing is created by all of us taking part. So we've moved once again the healing towards that latter part of the service, because we know by that point you are all joined together with us in that beautiful harmony and love, and we'll be able to send the healing out to those that matter and need our healing. And then I've asked Phil to do words of the week. Yes, you.
Yes.
And the prayer at the end. So without any further ado, please join me in prayer. Divine and ever-present creative force of life, through whom we have our very being, through whom allows us to take our breath, allowing us to explore life, allowing us to have that experience of the physical world, allowing us to appreciate all that our world offers us. This Sunday gathering allows us to come together under the umbrella of knowing that there is a life after death. What that life looks like, only we can know within our own truth. But what the life is unanimously agreed. It is there. It is a world within worlds. So this Sunday gathering embraces change for those that have made their transition within the last 6 months, for those that have made their transition within the last 6 hours, and for those that will make their transition to that higher side of life in the days and weeks to come. May their hearts and souls be reassured by the fact that the loved ones in the spirit realms will be there to welcome everybody who takes that step into life beyond life, that change beyond this life. So let us move into our Sunday gathering with that truth in our hearts and the knowledge that everybody welcomes into that knowing of we don't die. Thank you. So it's time for change. Bye. So I've chosen to do a reading from a beautiful book, and some of you will already have heard of this book before. It's called The Untethered Soul Journey Beyond Yourself, and it's by Michael Singer. There is so much within this book that is incredibly useful, and Phil and I individually have read this book at different times, and each time we read parts of this, it offers us something unique for that moment. Don't you just find that when you pick up a book and it just offers you something incredibly useful in that moment? So I'm going to read the part in the chapter that talks about let go now or fall. And it says, as you grow spiritually, you will realize that your attempts to protect yourself from your problems actually create more problems. If you attempt to arrange people and places and things so that they don't disturb you, it will begin to feel like life is against you. You'll feel that life is a struggle, that in every day is heavy because you have to control and fight with everything. There will be competition, jealousy, and fear. You will feel that anyone at any moment could cause you a disturbance. All they have to do is say or do one thing, and the next thing you know, there's a disturbance inside of you. That makes life a threat. That's why you have to worry so much. That's why you have to do all those dialogues going on inside your head. You're either trying to figure out how to keep things from happening, or you're trying to figure out what they do and why they happen. You're fighting with creation. You're fighting with change. And that's what makes creation itself the most frightening thing in your life. The alternative is to decide not to fight with life. You realize and accept that life is not under your control. Life is continuously changing. And if you're not in control, you will never be able to fully live it. Instead of living life, you'll be afraid to live life. But once you've decided not to fight with life, you'll have to face the fear that was causing you to fight. Fortunately, you don't have to keep this within yourself. You don't have to have this fear inside of you. There is such a thing as a life without fear. But in order to relate to this possibility, you must first have a different understanding of fear itself. When you have a fear inside of yourself, the events of life invariably stimulate that fear. Like a rock thrown into water, the world with its continuous changes creates ripples in whatever you're doing in that moment, with whatever is held within you. There's nothing wrong with that. Life creates situations that push you to your outer limits, all with the effect of removing what is blocked inside of you. That which is blocked and buried within you forms the root of fear. Fear is caused by blockages in the flow of your thoughts and your understandings. When there's blocks, it can't come up and feed your heart. Your heart is restrained. Therefore, your heart becomes weak and you become afraid. When your heart is weak, it lowers your expectations of life. Fear is the root cause of every problem. It's the root of all prejudices, of all negative thoughts, of jealousy, of possessiveness. If you had no fear, you could be perfectly happy. Living in the world, nothing would bother you. You'd be willing to face everything and everybody because you would have no fear inside of yourself. The purpose of spiritual evolution is to remove the fear, the causes of your fear. To do this, however, you will have to let go of the need to control everything in your world. It's hard to understand how to make that choice whilst letting go and not fearing at the same time. It can happen though. Eventually, you will become wise enough to realize that you do not want the stuff inside of you created by fear. It doesn't matter which stimulates the fear. It doesn't matter what words or situation hits the fear. It doesn't matter what fear there is that you're trying to justify. If you truly want to grow spiritually, you'll realize that keeping your stuff inside of you that's trapped is actually creating more fear. Eventually, you will want to just let go. Eventually, you won't have to worry about other people's issues. You won't have to worry about other people's opinions or thoughts. You will be different. You will be alive. You will have changed. Thank you. I'm going to go now pass you to Sandra.
Well, thank you. I got it. And picking up on what Carrie said, first of all, thank you very much, Carrie. Love that book. I love and hate, well, not really hate, that's a strong word. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Oh, yes, we were taught that when we were young. And I love the life is but a dream. I really do, because all signs point to the illusion of life, even though it's a tough thing to grasp, and that our lives are for a reason and that we choose coming here, all those good things. But rowing your boat gently down the stream. So that's kind of like going with the flow, right? How many of us, though, we've tried to swim upstream, or we've tried to row that boat upstream against the grain that it's going in? And Carrie mentioned that today's theme would be change. And it hit me hard. It did. It really did, because I feel like so many of us just live in this constant state of change. You know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And if you see any interviews with me or listen to my podcasts, I'm always rah, you know, here we go. It's tough to be human, but we can do this, we can do that, and we can be together, and it all sounds good. But in our own machinery, it can come across as fear, as Carrie said, or more like terror. Some of my favorite quotes, and you've heard them on our Sunday gathering, and I do believe them, are life begins at the end of your comfort zone, right? So it's uncomfortable, but we got to get outside of it, and all kinds of good things are there. Not too long ago, Carrie shared, a ship in a harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for, right? So we need that change. We need to go out. And here's another one. Smooth seas don't make skilled sailors. So those are three of my favorites. And while they all sound good and they all make sense, when we are out in that rowboat, I tell you what, it can be like a tsunami or one of the worst storms out in the ocean. We wouldn't even take any kind of boat across. The seas are wavy, giant waves. The sky is dark, thunder, lightning. That's what we as sailors are dealing with, I think, almost not every day of our lives, but lots of our lives. I've seen pictures of wheels, and there was a quote somewhere I saw, and if you're trying to hang on to the edge of the wheel when change is happening, it's violent, right? You're just hanging on for dear life. But where is it calm? In the center. When we think of that giant storm and our boats trying to make it across, it's wreaking havoc on the ocean surface. But where does one need to go to find calm waters? Way down deep. So do you think that it's just possible? I talk about being present and hanging on to the center of the wheel as opposed to being on the outside. Yes, that is where we're going with this. I know that change is tough. I and my mom had a very lucrative catering business for well over 30 years that all came to a halt when COVID hit 3 years ago. I went through just a very weird phase. And I know you went through it too. I found myself, like my memory just wasn't there. My emotions were all over the place. I couldn't remember things. There was miscommunications. And I thought, what in the heck is wrong with me? And I feel like the shoemaker whose kids don't even have shoes. Here I am, someone who prides myself about talking about grief and how major changes can cause grief, but I didn't even recognize, like, that's what I was going through. And if you're part of our Sunday gathering, there is a high percentage of people here, or I can guess that maybe there's some here that have experienced loss of a loved one, have experienced times when maybe someone's health has faded. There are times that we've had to move. There are times that we've lost jobs. There are things that are out of our control. Now, I do know things can change because we make positive changes. So I know that we can be those waves in our own life, and we can control the storm. You know, we say so and we make things happen, and that's going to cause a ripple effect for other people. So we can cause change, we can cause positive change. But I know, just living in my own skin for now just over 56 years, that most of the change seems like it's coming from the outside in. So being that rowboat and trying to bounce along the waves, while sometimes it can be exhilarating because we can have some of our best friends with us and people we love, most times we're on that boat alone and we're hanging on for dear life and trusting that there's another side of it. There's something I want to talk about today, and that is grief, because the word change is right now in my life a little bit uneasy, because there are things in my life that are changing, and there's people I love, and health is changing, and the future is uncertain. And I know that's the case for everyone. We have our friends Kath and Mitch Shirley on today in our congregation, and they talk a lot on grief. And I had to look back on some of my notes, and they are advanced grief specialists. And I remember them saying that there's over 40 reasons that we grieve, and each one of them is change. So some of us think, you know, grief is when a loved one passes, which certainly it is, but there's also something called anticipatory grief, and that's when somebody is diagnosed with someone or with something, or you know that maybe death is in the near future for them. But when relationships come apart, that's grief. When COVID hit and we were all locked into our houses, grief hit. When we change a job, when children go off to college, anytime the norm gets significantly changed. And I know there's even times in my life, little things happen. And when I was just reviewing some of my notes, and I wrote about this in chapter 10 of We Don't Die, and my grief audio as well, but just reviewing that, I'm glad I did, because some of the feelings that I'm presently feeling, they all point to grief. Why is this important that I talk about this now? Because I want everybody, first of all, to be gentle on yourselves. We are on this journey of life. We are, and there's the ups and the downs. There certainly is. And I do believe that there's another side, the afterlife. And I actually believe there was the before life, that we all signed up for coming here. I know we had our friend Brian Smith on a couple of weeks ago, and he gave a very, very powerful talk about how we are like these fighter jets going through the thin canyons, you know, how scary it is being here on Earth. But let's just say life is but a dream, and we picked coming here. We did. And somebody told us, but here's the thing, it's gonna be challenging. You're like, no problem, I got it. They said, you're gonna forget that you signed up for this. Oh, I'll be fine, right? So then we're living our lives and stuff is happening. And, the last thing we want to hear is a motivational quote, like, oh, it's just on the other side of your comfort zone, which is one of my favorite quotes, by the way. So I'm guilty of not always practicing what I preach. But we chose to come here and nobody gave us a handbook. Like if we buy some kind of an appliance, there's always how to use it. And there's always, the troubleshooting. Well, there's no troubleshooting that seemed to come with our manual called Being a Human Being. But we will have an opportunity to return home, afterlife or before life, whatever you want to call it, look back and really see your adventure and how many new experiences that you had and how many people you got to play with and how much love you got to give out and how much forgiveness you had for yourself and for others and how much you shared and all those good things. So these changes, while they can be uncomfortable and sometimes even painful, do we learn? Yeah. Do we grow? Yeah. Do we get an opportunity to help other people? Yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's my journey or your journey. We each have our own story and things that we have overcome that have made us who we are. And sometimes you are exactly the person somebody needs to hear from, to know that they're okay on their journey and make their journey just a little lighter. I know when I did all this research into grief, like I had to find out what makes it hurt so bad and what would make good, healthy people turn into monsters, because there was a lot of disagreements between myself and my siblings. And I actually found out that our chemistry changes. They say the tears we cry when we're grieving are a different makeup than our regular tears. And I thought that's interesting. And then I found out that our bodies lose a lot of healthy neurotransmitters when we grieve. You hear things like serotonin and dopamine and things like that. Normally, when we are that boat that's just on a calm, peaceful ocean, we're operating maybe around 100%. But throw in some of these changes and we can deplete 90% of our healthy neurotransmitters. And those are the things that are responsible for our mood, for anger, our balance there, for our perception, so many things, hunger levels. There's so many things that it controls. And, just recently I had just a little pressure on me. And all of a sudden I noticed that I couldn't think a thought to figure something out. And it was one of those aha moments that something just got depleted because I'm stressed about this over here. This side of me is not functioning. So my friends, this happens more often than not when we live a world as a human being and we live with so much change. So I'm going to ask you to be gentle on yourself. I'm going to give you just a couple of things here, not a lot, to let you know whatever changes are going on in your life, they could and probably are part of grief. So don't be scared by it. Like Carrie was talking about, we need to know and be comfortable with what we're dealing with. There are things out of our control, and there's also some good things that we can do. So we're going to get into that. So just briefly, if you find yourself in an emotional basket case, tears, your ups, your downs, that's a good sign there's a change going on in your life and something's happening you got to pay attention to. And grief has kicked in. If you find yourself finding your keys in your refrigerator, you lose your mind for a moment, your memory goes, that's all part of it. If you can't concentrate, if you have conversations with people and you can't really remember what they said, or you think they said this, or I'm not sure about this, you feel absent-minded, like I said, you start feeling negative. You start going oh, there's no good in my life. This is just so hard. Will things ever get better? Sometimes we feel stupid. Sometimes we feel like we're absolutely going crazy. We feel like we're not good enough. Sometimes there's that feeling of guilt. Sometimes we just worry about everything. If any of that sounds familiar to you, there's a good chance that you're dealing with some kind of change in your life and that grief is kicking in. Now, not all is lost, because as human beings, it's some kind of a protective mechanism, you know. We have to learn to get used to a new reality. And it's very difficult because the more we are attached to something, the more difficult change is. And it's so easy to say, you know, well, just don't be attached. But I think there is some kind of a chemical thing that happens within us. And I know when I talk about grief, and you know this, the more you love, the more it hurts, especially if one of your loved ones are in pain or they're ailing or they pass away. So be gentle on yourself because it's all part of it. And be gentle on other people as well. You know, I've compared the grieving mind to perhaps someone who has been addicted to some kind of a drug, let's just say some drug. And if you can imagine somebody going through withdrawal, well, first of all, you can see it on them. You know, they're shaking, they're crying, they're in pain, they're in misery. Their body is trying to get used to being alive without that substance. You would never trust maybe a secret, like, or something that this person had to do. You would be gentle on them. You would know that they're going through something. So when I say be gentle on yourself and be gentle on others, I don't say it lightly. There are people all over this earth, and there's people that you are part of their lives, they're part of your lives. Most of us keep this stuff to ourselves. You know, we don't share the hardships we're going through. You know, you see the smiley face every Sunday. Here we are, rah, rah. But each one of us has things that we're dealing with because we are human. So you never know what battle somebody is facing. So just on the safe side, you know, don't need to be right. Be gentle, be loving, give a smile, tell a joke, let somebody know, I don't know what you're dealing with, but I am here for you. So what are some things we can do in the face of change besides what Carrie was talking about? I just want to give you some basic on the court things because I know they sure help me feel better. First of all is being part of something on a regular basis. So guess what? You come to the Sunday gatherings. Ooh, I bet you think that helps because I sure do. No matter how lousy of a day or week or whatever happens, it's like Sunday gatherings here. We are together. And I leave feeling like $1,000,000. This week, our new classes are starting with Carrie and Phil. And I know that just being part of something bigger than ourselves and being with other people, and in their case, you know, you get to work with your soul and your spirit people and do medium stuff, like that is all really good because you're tapped into a greater reality of what's going on. You know, you may have some books like The Untethered Soul that Carrie was reading from, or some favorite books of quotes, or you might listen to a great podcast, or you might have a favorite show that you watch. Our minds really try, unfortunately, you know, it's the negative mind, to get us feeling guilty, to worry. It sometimes is the hardest thing that we can do, but get into communication with people that you love. They love you. You don't need to look good. You know, you can honestly tell them or say, can I talk to you about something? There's something that's heavy on my heart, and just share. Being alone is a really tough place to be. Pick up the phone if you can. Talk about your feelings, spend time with other people. Sometimes you just want to pull out your computer or a journal and get those thoughts out of your head and onto paper or onto a computer. It can be very healing. There's some things that sound simple, but get outside, get a little sunlight on you. Be out in nature. There is a wow factor in nature with everything that you see. There is beauty everywhere. Get some movement through your body, dance, walk. Try to eat right. You know, I know what it's like to eat too much sugar and I feel like it's a hangover. It's not very pleasant. But I also know what it's like to eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and things really start tasting good when you put away sugar for a while. If you are a person of faith, And some of us, may be developing your own spirituality right now, but you don't need to believe in a God or the divine or a higher power to practice it. Act as if, well, they say you put a smile on your face, and after 30 seconds of smiling, you feel better. Well, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that around each and every one of us right now, we have this group of invisible cheerleaders, that they know how hard it is to walk this life. They probably don't interfere too much in your life, but they hear and they will listen. So talk to them. Don't be surprised if thoughts come to your mind, or different pictures or images or memories from the past. Not all of our loved ones have figured out how to make our lights flash on and off. When we say, hey, are you here? No, they communicate through our imagination. Little feelings of love that come in. Sometimes it's just a little nudge, a little touch on your cheek or on your head, a little memory that passes by. I've noticed lately that as I go to sleep at night, or if I'm busy doing something during the day, all of a sudden Dad's face flashes up. It's like, hey, Dad, I know he's with me. I do. If you can serve other people, anytime you can volunteer or make a difference for another person, that makes a difference. I know when my dad died, my friend brought me to a pet store, and it was one where I could get into a pen with a whole bunch of puppies. Puppies were crawling all over me. So if you get an opportunity, if you have a cat, you have a dog, something you can pet there, being with children, hearing their laugh, all those things make a difference. Take yourself to a movie, read a good book, call a friend. When we do these steps, we're being proactive in our grief. It's a good way to deal with change. It's a good way to take that ocean that's like this and calm it down. We are riding it, and we're riding it together. I had mentioned all those neurotransmitters, all those things that run us, the serotonin, the dopamine, et cetera, and so forth. When we have time that we can be present to our grief, to be in the moment, to be doing some of these things out in nature, being with a friend, our system starts to heal. We don't forget our loved ones. We really don't. And I know grief can be ignited like that, even if it's been a number of years since someone has passed. But as human beings, we get to deal with the change. Do we get to befriend it? Maybe we do. But I can tell you that our system begins to heal. You're in company now with about 200 people that are watching this live with us in our Zoom room. We're all on that same boat. You're not alone. But to take some time to quiet down, and like I said about the wheel, getting into the center of it, or when that really wavy ocean and the terrible storm is here, do what you can to be in the present moment, whether it's paying attention to your breath, sitting in the power like Carrie and Phil teach. Go outside and just pay attention without thought to the occurring world around you. That does connect us to our soul, to the divine, to the bigger picture. And eventually, just sometimes, we get this, I call it a 30,000 foot view, that we can pull ourselves out of where we are. We can see a little bit of, maybe not the lesson for our soul, but where we're growing from these opportunities. We're each collecting so many good experiences that, like I said earlier, do make a difference for others. But sometimes being locked in our skin, we can't see it. But it is in those moments of being present that we get to see a bigger picture. So the only thing I just want to remind you is, wherever you are on this journey called change, be gentle on yourself, okay? Reach out to us. We're here. Reach out to the people in your life. And know, like I said before, that just around you, you got the biggest team of loved ones who know they're going to see you again, but they're right here really to encourage you and most importantly, to love you. So that, my friends, is my address. And it's the perfect segue, talking about our loved ones who are around us, because we are going to go into our demonstration of mediumship now. We have our good friend, Tim Southwell, here with us today. Tim has been a friend to our family since 2020, a longtime student and a medium. He consistently, since we first met him, has kept his foot in the door, being the best he can be. And I'm sure Tim still gets nervous doing medium demonstrations. It takes a lot to be on our Sunday gathering, knowing there's a big group of people. We're going to send him a whole bunch of love and good thoughts. And Tim, we are so grateful that you said yes. Because you're not just saying yes to the people here in our Sunday gathering, you're saying yes to the spirit world. You know, my friends, most of us walking on this planet, we still have a voice. And those loved ones of ours, while they do try to get in with our imagination and give us those memories, they don't have a voice. Carrie and Phil are magnificent teachers. They are. And I know Tim has trained with them for a very, very long time. When you hear Tim begin to work, someone from the spirit world will get his attention. They will use his memories, his thoughts, his feelings to try to tell him a story of who they are. So you'll hear Tim give a few initial bits of information about the person. Is it a man? Is it a woman? Maybe it's a mom, maybe it's a dad. We'll see where it goes. We ask everyone to be on the edge of your seat listening, okay? Because the friends in the spirit world know exactly who's in our Sunday gathering today. They do. And I know we all pray for our loved ones to come through, and I know it's just a handful that come through each week. But those that come through, they're on behalf of all of our loved ones saying, hey, this is how close we are. And hey, this is how much we're a part of your life and we can see what's going on. And hey, here's some words for you that I think not just you can use, but those other people that are on this Zoom thing. So really listen in. So after Tim gives the first initial bits of information, if you can understand all that information, like, hey, I know that person, that's somebody that no longer walks this earth, that I knew. It can be a loved one, it could be a friend, it could be a family member. Sometimes it's somebody a little distant. So if your soul gives you that nudge that, hey, that's me, you know, I know that person Tim's talking about, we want you to press your raise hand button. And I know there's always new friends with us on the Sunday gathering, and it gives you just a chance to stretch your fingers. So right now, whatever device you're on, go find that raise hand button and press it for me, will you? I know. Sandra asks us to do this all the time. So what? Have some fun. Gotta have some fun. All right, now it should say lower hand, and you can press it one more time. You guys are good. And for those of you who are out for a walk or multitasking, please know you can accidentally be pressing your raise hand button the whole time. It does happen a lot. With that, if you're someone who works with Tim, I will press a button on my side. You'll get a little pop-up that says host would like you to unmute yourself. You'll have a little box there to press. We love to hear your voice. We let Tim do the work. So all we need from you is a good, wholesome yes, no, or I don't know to the information that he gives. Okay, I know it's so easy. We want to share about our loved one, but we want you and everybody here to know that Tim really is in communication with our loved ones in the spirit world. All right, so just a good yes, no, or I don't know. I think that's it. If I missed anything, we will do it when we're back together. And of course, like I said earlier, just after our Sunday gathering ends, we're going to do a full demonstration with Carrie and Phil. Different Zoom link, but we will be doing that. We do like to play a piece of music before we go into our medium demonstration. This is a good opportunity to just think of your loved ones. Send Tim, even though he's a computer or a screen away, oh, so much love and so much gratitude for saying yes to being part of our Sunday gathering. He's always part of our Sunday gathering, but usually off camera. He is home watching. So, with that, let me get our piece of music and we will be back. So, you can sing it if you know it, you can. Hello, Tim, and thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Sandra. How are you doing?
Great, 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 great.
Great. And thank you for having me here, and Phil and Carrie as well for inviting me to come. That's fantastic. It's always a great pleasure to serve Spirit. And speaking of doing so, I think we'll jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. As I open my mind to the spirit world, I feel that I have Mum here. And I know that Mum would have worked during the day, but she would have made sure there's a good breakfast on the table. And I also know that the name Teresa is important. So we could have anyone to respond to Mum in spirit, put a good breakfast on the table before she had to leave for work, and the name Teresa would be important.
Okay, thank you, Tim. All right, my friends, who can understand this information? Go ahead and press your raise hand button, please. Well, Tim, we don't have any hands that went up immediately.
That's okay.
Oh, I take that back. I take that back. I always say that 10 seconds too soon. We have Christina and Anne both with their hands raised. Thank you, ladies.
Okay, great. So let me see if I can get a little bit more information here. I'm feeling with Mum that she would have set the table exactly the same way every day and would not have been there at the breakfast table while, and I do feel daughter would be eating breakfast.
Okay. Anne and Christina, can you both take that? Well, we are down to Christina. Thank you, Anne, for listening in. And Christina, could you press your unmute button? Hi, Christina.
Yes, hello.
Welcome.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. And we've worked together before, but I don't believe I brought Mother through.
No, you didn't.
Okay. Now I can see Mom being very fastidious before heading off to work. She would be zooming around that kitchen.
Yes.
In fact, she's almost a blur. She moves so fast and you didn't want to stand in her way.
Correct.
And there's the sense there that she would have a good solid meal set in front of you. This is just for breakfast even. And we're looking at pretty much all the food groups.
Correct.
And I feel orange juice was very key for her. She would make sure that you had to have orange juice.
Juice.
Juice, okay. Okay, so you would understand though that there would be a glass set up. There's a glass for your milk, there's a glass for your juice, and there's a nice cereal bowl right in front of you with the.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Now I do get the sense too that this is just an indication of how Mom was looking after things. She was very busy, but she always stayed on top of what was going on.
That's correct.
And I feel in staying on top of what was going on too, she was on top of you for homework.
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel for her, education was a very key thing, and she would bring that up several times.
Yes.
Yes. And as much as she was in a hurry and she did have to leave early for work, she would make sure at the end of the day, she found out how your day went.
Yes.
And there may be a memory where there's a time in which she was late. It's very rare, but there was a time in which she was late coming home and you were there first.
Yes.
And you'd have a memory too, that you were actually standing outside of the house, locked out of the house.
Yes.
And she's giving me the sense there of seeing mom, seeing just that area. There's a lot. It's like a big reunion. You've only been separated for a few hours, but it's like a big reunion.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah, and your mom was a hugger.
Yes.
Yeah, and I feel that she made sure that all the kids, dad, and actually even guests into the house, they were greeted warmly and often, I want to say tactilely, like she would have her hand on them.
Correct. You got that right.
Yeah. And you'd have memories of being by her bedside close to the time of her passing.
Yes.
Yeah. And she's showing me two things. She's showing me as you as a daughter, very young girl, and you have a sister too, correct?
Yes.
Yes. That she would be stroking, she would often talk to you and stroke your hair while she was talking to you.
Yes.
And she would look deep into your eyes while she was talking to you.
Yes.
And there was often that heart connection. And I feel she did that with the family.
Yes.
And she's taking me to the point in which you were by her bedside. And I feel that there was in a sense, change of roles where you were stroking her hair and talking to her.
Yes.
And those conversations were very deep. And the eye contact went, I feel it's almost soul to soul.
Oh, yes.
And her kindness, I feel, was something that went through all the years. There's memories of her being kind to neighbors, kind to pets, kind to strangers. And those were some of the topics that you talked about.
Yes, that's correct.
And I feel too, she often led with her heart.
Always.
And I can explain that a little bit more too. I feel that sometimes she could get feisty too. I feel that, yeah, you can understand that.
I understand
yeah,
that. Why you
yeah.
say that.
Because I feel that in leading with her heart, her emotions would often speak before her chance to think it through.
Yes, that's family thing.
Yeah. So I don't feel your mom to be an angry person at all, but I think if you got her a little riled, she would definitely speak up and blurt out what was on her mind.
All the time.
Yeah. But that's a piece of her, though. I feel that most of the time what she was saying was coming from the heart and was very warm. She was a very reassuring lady.
I can understand that.
And I feel too, she's bringing me back to the kitchen, and you would have memories of report cards being on the kitchen table set for breakfast.
Yes.
Yeah. And I feel that there was good news and there was bad news in those report cards.
Yes.
Yeah. Mostly good news though. And I feel your mom would have looked at the bright side. She would have been a little bit more optimistic about the actual what was on the cards for you.
I understand that.
Yeah. And I'm getting, your mom is giving the feeling too that it was important for her not to compare yourself to your sister, or for your sister to compare herself to you. And she would have stated that.
I understand that completely.
And I feel that that's what she's saying for you today, actually. I feel that you've been, I feel that you've been pulled back into looking at what others do versus what you're doing. And that mom's here to say, it really matters what you're doing. your mom spoke from her heart. And in the excitement came, when the excitement was you know, a little bit feisty, shall we say?
Yes.
And when it was in the loving way, she spoke from her heart. That's who she was. And I feel your mom is saying, speak from your heart, who you are. You don't need to look at where you are, where someone else is. It is you. You are a strong person.
Mm.
And with your mom's love, I say thank you.
Thank you very much. And I understand. And I know I needed to hear that today. Thank you very
Great.
much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Tim.
Okay, I feel that I have Father here, and Father would have Father would have liked to have sailed, and I'm looking at a lake rather than an ocean. So your father would have sailed in a lake, and I feel I'm in an area that is seasonal, so that it would have to be good summer weather before he would go out on that lake.
Thank you, Tim. All right, ladies and gentlemen, who understands this information? Press your raise hand button. All right, Tim, we have 2 with their hands raised, Judith, and then someone who's QS55, and Holly. Okay, 3 with their hands raised.
Okay, we've got 3 people. Great, thank you. Now I feel Father was an excellent communicator as well. He was one who would stick to his word. He was one who would be true to what he would promise you. And I feel that's an important aspect. How are we doing for?
All right, I'm going to lower everyone's hands because quite a number of hands went up. If you can take all of that information, go ahead and press your raise hand button again. Well, we are down to 1. Now, I don't know our friend's name here because there's just some numbers. Oh, and Jennifer, I see you put your hand up as well. So we actually have 2.
We're back to 2. Okay. So let's go back to Father, who would sail on. I do feel this body of water is a lake, and it would be in a seasonal area, one that would experience summer. So it was important that he would go out in the summertime, and also very trustworthy person. And I feel in his sailing, he would be known to go out on the boat on his own. And I also feel that he was quite competent. So that was, most times you would say that's not safe, but for him, that was safe.
All right, we still have everybody's hands up. Almost everybody. We have 3 people with their hands raised.
Okay, let's go back to the sailboat.
Okay.
This was not a large sailboat at all. I feel that it was with a single mast. And I'm getting the Northeast United States area.
Okay. Northeast United States, just a single mast on their sailboat. Jennifer, Judith, and Holly, I'm saying your names because your hand is still raised, just in case it's by accident. All 3 can take the information, Tim.
Okay. Do you mind if we speak to the 3 people?
Not at all. Oops, I just did the wrong thing here. Jennifer, I'm trying to just allow you to talk. If you could press your unmute button, Jennifer.
Greetings.
Hi.
Hi, Jennifer. You can take all the information.
Well, I can take it. It is not for me. It's for my friend. I never met her father. I only know of him.
Okay, but you would also know that this would be a single mast sailboat on a lake in Northeast United States.
I know it would be in the Northeast United States.
Okay.
Would you like to talk to one of the other ladies?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Not at all. We'll go to Holly and then Judith. Hi, Holly. Holly, are you there?
Yes, but I can't unmute.
Oh, I can hear you now.
All right.
Hi, Holly.
Hi, Tim.
You can take all this information.
Every bit.
Okay, great. And I just want to talk to Judith for a second, if that's okay.
Okay, Judith, if you can press your button there. Hi, Judith. Judith, are you there?
I am.
Okay, we got your voice.
Okay. Hi, Tim.
And Judith, you understand all the information as well.
I did lower my hand on the last one. I'm not thinking of the northeastern states.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Sounds like Holly has all
Okay,
the
yeah. So
information.
Holly, thank you, everyone. If you could listen, and Holly, if I could work with you for a bit too. So Holly, I do feel that this is Father who would be very trustworthy,
Yes.
and that he did make some big promises, but he did keep those.
Yes.
And I feel too that he was a wonderful caregiver for yourself.
Yes.
And I also do feel in that there was a time in which, would you understand him stepping away from that, but stepping away from caregiver for a little bit, but coming right back again?
No, I can't think.
Okay. Let me work with that for just a little bit. Okay, I feel that Mom and Dad shared the duties of looking after the kids,
Yes.
and you'd understand that there was a time in which I feel like there was an illness that he had where Mom had to step up.
No, illness that Mom had and he had to step up.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We'll stick to our yes, no, and I don't know, if you don't mind, Ollie, that's okay though. And I feel too that he was one that would take the kids separately to different fun activities.
No.
No, but you would have memories of him going to no, it doesn't quite feel right. Him taking you to local fairs and fairgrounds,
Yes.
and that would be just yourself.
No.
Not quite. Okay. I'm not quite sure, Holly, that I'm with you. I don't mind if we go back to Judith, if Judith is still
Okay.
there,
Okay.
because I do feel I'm with a father and daughter relationship.
All right, Judith, if you want to press your unmute button. Hi, Judith. Are you there, Judith? Judith, we cannot hear you. Well, Tim, she is unmuted, but we cannot hear her voice.
Judith, are you able to give a thumbs up or not on your? Okay.
So she's pressing her raise hand button, everybody. So
Okay.
want to take that for a yes?
Sure.
Okay.
So I do want to go back to Father looking after, being a nurturer, but there's a time in which he had to look after yourself.
Hand raised. That's a yes.
Okay. And also I want to look at that, and also there was a time in which he stepped away from that duty and it was given to somebody else.
Well, her hand raised before you finished the question, so I'm not sure. Is that a yes, Judith? Yes.
Okay. And also feel that Father did have an illness, which did sort of make him step back.
Yes.
Okay, I also want to go back to the original. Dad made some big promises and kept them.
Yes.
And I also feel too, there were times that he made some big promises, and these were big ones, and did not keep them.
That would be a no. Oh, that's a yes. Okay. Her hand went up. Yes.
Because I feel Dad wants to acknowledge, um, Dad wants to acknowledge that he was there during those times, and at the best of times, he was able to interact. He did everything he could. Here's my statement, sorry. He did everything he could to be there and to see it through.
Yes.
And I also feel he was like that with other siblings.
Hand went down. It's not easy with the raise hand button, but yes.
Okay.
We're making it work.
And
Yes.
the other piece I just want to look at too is that he treated each in their own way,
Yes.
and that he did take each of the children to various events separately, one-on-one with him.
Yes.
Okay. And I feel that he was he was independent, and because of our hand raising, I'm going to do a double barrel here. He was an independent person, but he also liked his own time. He's very individual.
Yes.
Okay. And also very strong in character. He would speak his mind,
Yes.
almost to the point at times of perhaps crossing the line.
Yes.
And he's also given me the feeling that you saw a significant change in his character closer to his passing.
Yes.
And I feel that that's where you saw a change, and not just you, but your father's giving me the impression that he did change his demeanor. He was more careful about how he expressed himself.
Yes.
But you also understand that your father was nonverbal at the time of his passing.
Yes.
So, Judith, with your father being present, I do feel he's highlighting characteristics in which both you and he share. And there's a great deal of strength to be had that you each have, and your independence. And I feel that he wants to bring forward the fact that you have already crossed that zone where you recognize it's time, when it's time to cross the line, and you need to really speak up about something, and when to be a little bit more aware.
Yes.
And I feel it's very interesting too that we're going by hands when he was nonverbal at his passing. And the last thing I think I'll leave you with, Judith, is that the two of you shared looks together. Again, we're back to the eyes, but I feel that there are times in which you just need to look at each other and you know exactly what the other one was thinking.
Yes.
And I feel that he carries that all the way with him, and he's bringing that forward again as something that you both shared and something that you carry forward to this day. Your understanding of how people are feeling by the way they are looking in their eyes.
Yes.
So thank you, Judith. And from your father, thanks too.
Oh, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll make it work even without sound. Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Tim.
Okay. I feel like I have sister. Actually, I'm going to change that. I feel that I have a friend who is like a sister, and she's looking for a lady who used to play tennis with her. So they played tennis together. This is a friend so close that she was like a sister. And I also want to say that in playing tennis, there's a there's a nice long hair. She's free flowing hair.
Thank you, Tim. All right, ladies, who understands this information, raise your hand, please. Waiting that extra moment because somebody's going to
Yep.
raise their hand. I just feel certain.
The instant. Okay, if that's not something we can take, then I am going to go right to sister then, and I'll say sister used to play tennis together. And I feel too that she still, again, has the long hair, but the two of you play tennis.
Okay, thank you. All right, girls who played tennis with sister. Oh, you're still looking for a female, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Nobody?
Okay.
Nobody
But
played
if
tennis?
that's not quite it, I know the tennis is there. I know that. So I'm willing to drop the relationship if we have someone who has a close female friend, a lady in our audience who had a close female friend who
With
played
the
tennis
tennis?
together.
We played tennis
Yes,
together.
the
Okay.
tennis, yeah.
Okay. Okay, Christine has her hand raised. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. It's just important to get to the right person. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Sandra.
Hi,
Welcome.
Christine.
Hi,
So
Tim.
you recognize a lady in spirit with whom you played tennis,
Yes.
and you also recognize that she had long hair at the time.
No.
No, if she didn't have the long hair, then you would have had the long hair,
Yes.
and you would have you would know that she commented on actually kind of enviously about your long hair,
Possibly.
possibly. Okay, so I feel that we get some audio feedback there, Christine.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So I feel that this was at a time when you were both young ladies. And by that,
Yes.
I'm looking at, 20s and above.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's I feel actually that she was quite an amazing player. She's very strong.
Yes.
And also she was part of a club.
I don't remember that.
Okay. But you know that she played tennis frequently
Yes.
and with more than just herself. She played it a lot.
Yeah.
And she also had a competitive nature to her.
Yes.
She wasn't going to let you win just out of friendship.
True.
Yeah. And I feel that that was part of her strength, but she also, she's letting me know that she has a good sense of humor too.
Yes.
And she was quite self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
So she would draw the line at being bullheaded, according to her.
True.
Yeah. But, so always seems to be a but in there, but she also really liked to have her way.
I understand that. Yeah.
And I feel that even went into conversations where she would sometimes dominate the conversation.
No.
If she didn't dominate the conversation, then I feel that when she was taking part, it was important that what was right to her was right, acknowledged as right.
Yes.
And I also feel that despite, I feel outwardly she had that strength, she had that sort of domination, especially in the tennis court, but inwardly she was very supportive, and it's almost like the softness was much inside.
Yes.
And there were times there's almost two sides to her: the tough competitor, the one who had to work hard, and I feel that's in her job as well, to get where she wanted to go.
Yes.
But then among her friends, and when you really got to know her, You would never have guessed that. She was just so gentle, kind,
Yes.
except on the tennis court. So she's just giving me you giving me a picture here. You would understand. We kind of said she was the stronger player, correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay. You must have memories though of I don't know the terms in tennis, but in returning the ball, she's commenting on how often yours were bouncing on the ground rather than getting over the net.
I don't remember that, truthfully.
No, but she had a teasing nature,
Yeah.
and she would, in a playful way, almost kind of get into your mind a bit, get into your head a bit, just to get that little edge.
Yeah.
And I feel the teasing was just a sign of her love, a sign of the way that she felt comfortable with you.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel very much that your friend is really here to say hello and remember those times. And it was carefree times. And it's fine to be competitive. And it's also fine to be the warm person that you are inside. And I feel that she recognizes that warmth in you. And the times that you have to be tough. But the times that you want to be warm, absolutely. Speak from your heart is how I feel she's here for you. And I
Beautiful.
thank her for being here.
Thank you so much, Tim. That was wonderful.
You're welcome. And thank you, Sandra. It's a pleasure to serve the spirit world.
Oh, Tim, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. Yeah, I remember one of those first medium classes, we were together in a breakout room, and oh my gosh, Tim, I'm just so proud of you. And I know you had butterflies in your belly and you pushed it aside to be a representative for the spirit world. So thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for that. And ladies and gentlemen, I know earlier I had mentioned those grief things from my book. You can have a free copy. You can. I'm not going to make anybody purchase it. But on our home base, which is wedon'tdie.com, if you go to the store page and just scroll down, you'll find the We Don't Die audiobook. Use coupon code FREE, F-R-E-E, and you can either read the PDF version or listen to the audiobook. I just think it's so important to know that there is help and there are things that we can do to help us heal and to get through that grieving process. But you saw from Tim and the loved ones that step forward that they're here, they're with us, and they're perfect, they're whole, they're complete, they're healthy, and they're wonderful. So just a few brief announcements, and then I'll turn it over to Carrie for our healing segment. First of all, when we finish this in about, just about a half hour's time, I'm going to open up a different Zoom room, and we're going to have a full 90-minute demonstration with Carrie and Phil. So again, wedon'tdie.com, go to the store page, and you can find messages from the spirit world, and you can join that. We'll be starting right at the top of the hour. Also, a reminder that in the North America, our clocks are going forward this Sunday in the wee hours. So for next Sunday gathering and the following Sunday gathering, to our friends that are non-North American, so if you're in Europe or the UK or Australia, New Zealand, you'll have to sign in 1 hour earlier. So sorry for the inconvenience, but this happens just 2 times a year, and I sleep much better when the clocks are done changing. I do. Also, this week, our new classes are starting with Carrie and Phil. There's, I think, 3 or 4 spaces left for their Tuesday class for students that are part of our community. It's a spiritual mentor group that you will be, everybody gets to be worked with together and individually during the time together, the 6 weeks together. If you're new and you want to join our mediumship group, on Wednesday is for you. It's our level 1. You learn how your psychic sense, your soul communicates. Beautiful course for 6 weeks. Everything is recorded. And if you are someone who has trained for a while as a medium, and we welcome you to join our Thursday group, which is a level 2. There's lots of other good things going on. And so everything's at our store page, wedon'tdie.com, as well as joining us and registering for next week's Sunday gathering. So I'd like to turn it over to Carrie now for our healing
Thank you very much, Sandra, and thank you for joining us, Tim. It's been an honour to watch you demonstrate as well. Today, the theme is about change, but I omitted to share with you where I got the songs from. There's a small group, actually it's rather huge. It's called We Don't Die Listeners Group. You might want to join it. And Sandra put a post out about 3 weeks ago asking you for the songs that you liked and the themes that you would like to use. And I got all the songs from there. So before we go into our healing, our first song, opening song, was nominated by Rachel. The second was by Amber. The Dem song before Tim worked was by Rona. The healing song, which we're about to hear, was chosen by Emily, and the end song was chosen by Eileen. So as we go into our healing segment, we've been graced with the presence of the spirit world, that sense of knowing that there's life after physical death. We can take all that now into healing and send that around to the people you know that need it the most. If you're really lucky and you have nobody in your vicinity that needs healing at this time, please send it out to those that that need it most, in the communities, in the countries, and the continents that are suffering for whatever reason at the moment. Send your thoughts there. We can make a difference. All you need to do is enter into that silence, open your hearts, and send that love and healing to those that need it. Thank you.
After listening to a song like that, it is quite hard to speak, because we go into a reflective place when we're listening and thinking of all those people we were sending healing to. But my job this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is to give you the words for the week. And Kerry picked a wonderful theme, change. And it's one of those words that's very peculiar, isn't it? Because we all want it, but we all hate it at the same time. We want things to be different. We want life to be better. But unexpectedly, things do change, not always for the best that we think in that moment. So it really challenges us to really strive to be better people and understand. And in Tim's demonstration, I was smiling because all of a sudden the sound went and it had to work a different way. And it's something we train the students to do. We create exercises that we absolutely love because it creates change within them. So when the sound went, I was thinking, yes, fantastic, because I know Tim would have stepped up to the plate. He has that mindset, just as myself and Kerry, where we go, okay, this is a little bit different, things are changing, and we get excited because we strive and reach for that next bar. And that's what we do within the classes. That's how we train people to have a different perception of life, that things need to change to be better. So sometimes when we talk about those changes, we get a little bit nervous, we get a little bit fearsome, or as Sandra said, terrified at times when change happens. I'm going to let you into a little secret. I used to absolutely loathe change. I was terrified by it, so much so that I would never make plans in my earlier life because I was always worried that they would change, and more often than not they did. So I had that real fear about setting things in stone with others and making plans, and because I hated it because it would always change. I'd always get excited and feel let down at times. And actually, it was another word that our wonderful Sandra Champlain mentioned. We turn into a little bit of a basket case, don't we, when we have change happens. It's almost like there's another personality that comes out, and it's just that fear just really takes over, and all those self-limiting beliefs actually come out and really play heavy within us. But actually, if we didn't have those moments, those growing pains, as myself and Kerry would say, we don't improve, we don't get better, we don't have different insights. It's through those experiences that we become much better people. So we should make the most of them. And I know there's also been a lot of analogies this Sunday gathering about ships being safe in a harbour, and what they're made for is sailing. Even a few weeks ago, Brian Smith mentioned about when they cross over that horizon, that they're out of our sight. Well, actually, that's where we need to be, is out of sight, our normal boundaries of the mind, to create change. Because as we cross that horizon in a ship, we see new lands, new shores. And guess what? There is another new horizon, something that we never imagined. So the more that we can really change and accept change and understand that actually it's the best thing for us, it might not feel like it at that very moment, but actually it's one of the best things. Because we look at some of those things that have been painful in life and we've hated every second of them, but how they've created us to be the very people that we are here today, and how much life has got better. This is what we employ as a medium, to change the mindset, to have a look at different ways of looking at life, how we can interact in different ways, how these understandings come to play, because mediumship, ladies and gentlemen, is a byproduct of who you are. So the more that we can experience, the more that we can engage with, the more that we can give us that evidence of that afterlife by understanding somebody else's shoes. And it was something that I was taught very early on by a lovely gentleman who's now in the spirit world. He says, you can't judge anybody or say that you understand somebody's life until you've walked a moment in their shoes. And that's always stuck with me. Every time I demonstrate, it's always to get to know the communicator, get to understand how they are, get to see how they saw life and enjoy every moment of it. Because if we do, we learn a new perception. So having that healthy mindset where change is concerned can only be the best for us. And that's what I want to leave you with, that change isn't always bad. And we can have those self-limiting beliefs, those fears, that terrified impression, as Sandra said. But actually, in the moment, when we get over that horizon, or when we pass through it, we think, what was all that fuss about? Because life is so much better. That's what I want to leave you with. And it comes to the end of what we call the Sunday gathering, where we all come together in what we call prayer. So if you'd like to join me by closing your eyes and going within that silence, that inner world of yours. And I want you to not just listen to my words, but also within your minds and within your hearts, say your own little prayer to help those changes take place. Dear Father God, we all sit here together under that banner of We Don't Die. As we've all sat with each other's power, with each other's love, listening to those communications and those words of wisdom from the reading and Sandra's address, we combine together to create a form of love within us, to accept different perceptions of life, to be better people, to understand the greater laws of the universe, to let our light shine, to let our light through those changes shine a path, a route for others to follow, and let them know also that change is possible. It is with that love and with your guidance and within our light that shines brightly in what we call love, that we thank you, Father, for allowing us to live the best life that we can. Amen.
Thank you so much, Phil and Carrie behind the scenes, and Tim, our wonderful Tim, thank you. We're going to go into our closing song now, but ladies and gentlemen, I know many of you will see in a few minutes at the demonstration. I'll put the link in the chat box one more time, but thank you for taking the time to be here, spending your time with us, the spirit world and your own soul. And thank you to our loved ones in the spirit world. They're right here with us. All right, here is our closing song. Love that. And we do love you. We'll see you later today, tomorrow, next week at one of the classes. Thanks again, everyone. Bye.